In this video, I'm going to talk about the $1,200 stimulus check that most of you would be getting if you make $75,000 or less. And if you're a couple, if you make $150,000 or less, you'll be getting $2,400. And if you have children, it's $500 for each dependent child. Check it out. Thanks for watching this video. In this video, I'm going to be talking about what to do with your stimulus check. First, let's talk about who's supposed to receive this check and when. So the Senate just voted a couple of days ago on the bill, the stimulus bill that was about $2 trillion. The Congress, the House is going to be voting on this in the next couple of days. As soon as the president said that as soon as the bill passes the House, that he's going to sign it into law. So the Treasury Secretary said that the checks are going to start going out as soon as that happens. So what that means is that expect to receive these checks, let's say, sometime in May. So who's supposed to receive these checks and how much? Well, if you make, and this is based on your AGI, your adjusted gross income, if you make $75,000 or less, you're to get $1,200. And if you're a couple and you file jointly, if you as a couple make $150,000 or less, then you'll get $2,400. And if you have dependent children, you get $500 for each dependent child. It doesn't matter how many children you have that are dependent on your taxes. If you make up to $99,000 as the individual, you'll get less, and it's prorated. And for couples up to couples that make $198,000 jointly, you'll get something which is prorated. But less and less, the more you make, the less you get. And it depends on that scale, and it stops at $198,000 for a couple. Again, the last time this stimulus package happened was under Bush. The bill was signed on February 3rd at the time, and checks were not received until April. So if we look at that timeline, we're talking, we should look at that around that timeline. So that's what I'm thinking, sometime in May that you should receive the check. Now, what to do with this money? First, I'm going to start off with people that lost their jobs, that are unemployed, that are underemployed, that can't pay their bills. So, very important for you to, when this money comes in, it's going to be very important for you to treat it well. Don't spend it in one place. Don't spend it on consumer goods. Don't go wasting it. You may want to. But before you talk about that, before getting that money, for people in that situation, you should contact your banks if you have a mortgage, or contact your landlord and let them know that you are going through this financial crisis. Contact if you're paying any periodical things, like if you have a car payment, if you have mortgage payments. if you have insurance payments or what have you. Contact, if you have credit card payments, contact all of your creditors and your utilities and see that if they can work with you on these payments, if they can forbear some of these payments, or if you can make smaller payments or what have you. So that's the first thing to do. Stop the bleeding. Now, if you get this, when you get this money, then you should work to pay off certain debts, and you'll figure out, for some people it's going to be certain things you put it all in one place, or for other people you spread it out. You spread out that money, the best you can. So you should use this to be able to pay certain kinds of things. At the same time, I'm going to do a video to talk about how to make money, or different options to make money during this time. But speaking about this particular check, use that to pay certain kinds of bills. Also, you could use that for to buy food. Very important. For people that have their, that have their jobs or that have income that aren't necessarily in an emergency situation, the check should be used as for something, for different things. So first, one of the things we found out with this coronavirus situation, where basically the country is shut off and the economy is shut off, is many people with jobs work paycheck to paycheck. So if they don't get paid, they are, one paycheck away from homelessness. One thing that's very important is that many people should have an emergency fund that is liquid, meaning that you should have, and what does that mean? You should have 3 to 6 months to 1 year worth of living expenses amount in a savings account. So whatever your bills are to live, you should have at least 3 months worth of that in an account in case of an emergency. That way you don't live paycheck to paycheck. That way, so that's very important. So if you don't have that, have this $1,200 or this $2,400 be the start of that emergency fund. To take that money and put it in a savings account. The reason why you should put that in a savings account and not a checking account is because a savings account has a little better interest, not that great, but a little better. The interest is a little better than a checking account, and you have access to it, right? So your emergency account, you want to be able to have access to it, and you want it to be liquid. Liquid means that you can use it really fast. You can get to it fast. So many of you should be starting savings accounts for your emergency fund. And if you already have an emergency fund and if it's not enough, you can put that $1,200 or $2,400 or the money that you get for their dependent children, all of it into the savings account. For others that are not in that space, you want to be able to be in a space where you have that emergency savings account for emergency funds. That way, you're not in the class of people that are employed but still living paycheck to paycheck. Next, once you have taken care of and you have a cushion where you have savings that can take care of your living expenses for a few months, now you can think about what to do with that money. So there are investment options, right? $1,200 is not a huge amount of money, but you can invest that money, and there are different vehicles to invest. I have other videos where we talk about what to invest in, and I'm going to do a video next week to talk about what to invest your money in at this time. But you can invest. Another thing that you can do is pay down certain types of debt. So depending on what you have, the same advice that I gave to earlier about contacting your creditors, you could also contact your creditors, try to get lower interest rates on certain kinds of payments, and you can try to see where you have the highest interest rates and for different kinds of payments to try to pay that off first. But very important for us to use this money wisely, use whatever money we have wisely, and to be able to build and grow. And even at this time of coronavirus, I want many of us to come out on the other side of this stronger than we were, and we have to come out stronger than we were financially and economically.